Welcome to 5-Star Weekly. Players leaving in mass. June is coming to an end. However, Atl United are turning their luck around. We get into all that and more coming up. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. Welcome to the show, 5-Star fam. I'm AJ, and this is Michael. And yes, Atl United, they drew St. Louis City 1-1 over the weekend. And yeah, before we get into that review, big shouts out to our Patreon members, notably Gavin, Jordan, Niall, Andrew, and Chris. You guys are legends. Join us on the Patreon and get your shouts out at the beginning of these episodes there. But yeah, so, in St. Louis, after a couple of undefeated results with Rob Valentino's 2.0 era, we get another result on the road. And, not necessarily, I would say, a banner game. Not necessarily, I would say, a good performance. But we are getting results. Defensively, we are, I think, doing enough to keep ourselves in the game. And ultimately, it's not pretty, but we're getting the job at least somewhat done. But yeah, I mean, as far as kind of going into the match, of course, Thiago Almada with yellow card accumulation, one too many times with the Fuerte Apaches. He unfortunately was not able to play. Yeah, also, of course, Abram, Saba, Schlisch, away on international duty. And so, yeah, it took some, it took somebody else to have to score and have to create. And it was a little bit different of a lineup, not too crazy. Pretty much still the 5-man back line or 3-man back line, however you want to look at it, with the wingbacks. But Ajani Fortune came in instead, and Xande Silva was up top with Rios, kind of pretty much as the creator. But Silva left a little bit to be desired, I would say. Not a great game for him. A little bit a little loose on the passes, a little loose on the ball at times. He has been scoring. I think he's got something like 2 goals in 5 games or something like that. And those goals are golazos, really well hit goals. But alas, it didn't happen in this match. But yeah, kind of defensively, I think we saw some really good moments. Maybe notably as well, Derrick Williams with a last-ditch tackle that was really well timed. Morales kind of being kind of that kind of guy that was I mean, he looks like a player that maybe isn't the most comfortable on the ball at times, but defensively, no nonsense. And he's gonna punt it out. Just if it's anywhere close, which it was like halfway line, he was like, I'm even gonna risk it. I'm just gonna punt it out, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it until he gets his bearings. And sometimes it's kind of better that way. Like maybe the team that you're playing just realizes, okay, well, screw it. Like, not even gonna press him too hard. He's just gonna launch it out anyway or something, and you can buy yourself a little bit more time, I feel like, sometimes. But I felt like it changed pretty much when Stian Gregerson came in at the half. Seemed like a imposed kind of decision to give him more time. And for better and worse, it worked out, I suppose. Because, yeah, if you want to take it away, I mean, it's basically Stian Gregerson, he unfortunately is part of the reason why, we give up the first goal.
Yeah. So he came on, and I made a joke about this on the stream. Do we not warm up our players? It seems like sometimes they come on and they're they hit these wild passes, or they make these just real like boneheaded decisions that end up costing us pretty heavily in some cases. Thinking about the Mosquera time when he came on and just gave Philadelphia a goal essentially. There was something similar in this game with Stian coming on, and then his first intervention in the game, he hoofs it right to another player, where it basically sets up a horrible string of failures, of systematic failures in the team that resulted in Klaus getting a header that puts it back right into the box, where there was that Vasilev or whatever his name was came running on it and just booted it in, when he should have been, someone should have noticed that mark, crashing in. Someone should have, took up some of that space, but people were not in their position and weren't watching. So this guy basically had a free attempt to just rush in. It's difficult. I guess Klaus kind of just, he got, it was a good play by him getting up there to get that ball and to place it where it needed to go. He was all the way over there. Like, it was a good play. Not always does that ball make it to him, so he just happened to be in the right place at the right time and put the ball exactly where it needed to go. And like I said, it was kind of a calamity of our errors that compounded to result in that. It wasn't just Stian. However, Stian started it off, unfortunately. But like you had mentioned, he did a bit of a self-correct and was the reason for our penalty kick being awarded to us, and then Daniel Rios taking it and then making the entire city of Atlanta, maybe the state of Georgia, just gasp with a miss. It was a save from the goalie, Berkey, but luckily he coughed up a rebound that landed graciously right in front of Rios, who was able to tap it in right after that, which for St. Louis, obviously that pissed them off. That was pretty salty, and that was a bit of a theme in this game. A lot of the calls, a lot of the way the game was being played really kind of rubbed Seattle fans and Seattle in general in the wrong way.
St. Louis, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, not Seattle. Geez, St. Louis. So, yeah, so like it really rubbed them the wrong way, and we'll be remiss to not mention the however part of this.
Oh, yes. That was before all of this, actually, and 39th minute, VAR had to intervene. They looked at a lot of things, and it was, this center ref is a sassy one, to put it at least that. But it looked like St. Louis had scored the first goal of the match, and essentially, there was kind of a lot of deliberation. Looked at every bit of this play, and they called pretty much that Muyumba. However, Muyumba was fouled before the whole play finished. And it might have been a soft-ish foul. There wasn't maybe a ton of complaints with Atlanta United players, but I mean, we'll take it. It's fortuitous. Was it a foul ultimately? I mean, it is, but I've seen calls not called on this type of play all the time, and especially near midfields. But it definitely was, I think, a call that finally went our way. And this is meme worthy, because he didn't have to go this route. He didn't have to be like, you know what, like, okay, it's not this, but however, it was a foul on Muyumba, and it's just
like the fact of the matter is, like, he basically gassed up the St. Louis fans by saying, like, because the original call was there could be an offside, so they had to check the offside, and then he said, okay, there was no offside. However, and then obviously at that point, the St. Louis are already elated. They're already, cheering and everything. And he's just like, everyone needs to calm down. He even had like a little smirk on his face. He's like, everyone needs to settle down, because I got something to say. There's a conjoiner here, and that is that there was a foul committed earlier before this, and we're going to call it back to that. And then everyone was like, what the hell? And oh man, that was, I said this on Twitter. Atlanta finally found a team that had worse luck than it had. And that's really what happened here.
And it is. And it's also, Parker, their center back, got fined after the match as well for his comments about the ref. So, the fans weren't the only people that were salty about it. And, I'm here for it. I mean, it is, yes, if it went against us, yeah, I'd be pretty mad too. But it is also, I think it's a foul. Like, it's a foul in the lead up to it. Is it sometimes called? Sometimes. Is it not always called? Yeah. And, I think this guy, the center ref, probably was a drama major at some point in his life because, there is that type of, that mic control there to really, like, take in what the crowd is saying and just be like, drop that however with the hand motion and the, drop that nugget and then just kind of be unscathed. Like, he's done this before. There's something in his past life.
It really was the side ref, right, that who put up the call for the offside to begin with, because he's the one who put this all into motion. Like, if they had just scored the goal and it wasn't even thought about being offside, because technically it wasn't, it ended up not being offside. So the guy should have never raised his flag. But since he did, it allowed VAR to go back and review plays before this play. So that's how they found that foul. So without that would have never happened, and they would have just scored, and that would have been it. So, like, it's just, thank you, linesman.
Yep, there's just a series of events. I mean, talk about that for LA United, but for St. Louis, I think this is probably a series of events that they will remember for quite a while.
Like I said too, like, what an introduction to Atlanta United, because this is our first match against them. Officially, so I can only we had a preseason game against them too, where we beat them. There's that, but this is the first time we played against them. The next time we play against them, I have a feeling it's going to be, fraught with animosity towards us.
Yeah, for sure. But next time it will be at the Benz, most likely. And, I think if there is any sort of controversial thing, well, it's tiny violins pretty much at that point. Because, at the Benz, sans maybe one subset of, of a fan base that has ever been at the Benz, they really aren't that loud. So, but, as far as kind of later in this match, it is one of these things. A lot of people were clamoring maybe for Luke Brennan to have come on sooner, to maybe have started. I kind of agree with the notion of him coming off the bench, maybe sooner, yes. Because Shande Silva, maybe not necessarily having a howler, but kind of not, good enough. Change up some things. But, having the three-man back line, an attacker has to be sacrificed, unfortunately. You're not going to sacrifice your midfield. So, it is that, I think, with this. But, it was hot in this game, too. And a lot of these players had to come... a good number of them come off. Rios, did have to come off, with some, I guess, muscle tightness. And, hopefully he is okay. No word really yet, kind of the severity of that. Maybe it was just a cramp. Hopefully so. But as well, late in the match, Braguzan had to make a great save on a Caden Glover shot, to keep it 1-1. I mean, there were some big stops in this game from the defense and Goose. So, it's a well-earned point defensively, I would say. The attack doesn't maybe earn really any plaudits, I would say. But
the attack did the bare minimum necessary to get a result, which is unfortunate going forward, because you'd want to see something that you can hang your hat on, but that just wasn't what you're going to get out of this game.
Right, especially no DPs pretty much starting the match, and as well, I mean, between a fortune thunder strike onto the post,
both teams did work this game.
Exactly, right, for sure. I think we had another strike that hit some woodwork as well, but it's just, man, like some unluckiness, but it also is, just not accurate enough with our finishing, which has been, the culprit all year. And, it's just like, well, damn. I mean, at the very least, we hit a rebound.
Yeah. To your point, I mean, which is rare. You usually don't see that with penalty kicks. So that was something. Did not expect it. Did not expect that at all. So that was, I like couldn't believe it when it happened. So, so I thought like the universe would correct itself and St. Louis would score another one by the end of the game, but that was not the case.
Thankfully.
Yes, I would be remiss also to not talk about specifically Derrick Williams and his efforts, because his defense and putting his body on the line, really, like this man is putting it all out there for the badge. For someone who just came in from another team, this guy, he's quickly earning my respect as an Atlanta United player, and I hope he sticks around for a while. I know he's older, but like, I love him so far. He's been great. He's been a wonderful surprise for us, because I mean, I'll admit I did not expect a lot from him, and he has given me like 3 times my expectations at minimum. It's been wonderful.
For sure. Because it is pretty much, he was an afterthought for the most part, as far as most people. Just a player that, we were able to trade some peanuts essentially for him, and here we are. Like, he's
been one of our best defensive players in years. And we got peanuts for him. Like, it's been better than Luis Abram, and we paid a shit ton for him. So like, it's just like baffling to me sometimes. So
right. And I think definitely better than Purata defensively. Obviously,
better
Purata.
Than Meza.
Yeah.
Definitely better than Purata. Yeah, like, it's just wild to me.
Yeah. Purata, obviously, with the the headed goals, that's a different thing, obviously, but still. But yeah, and so this match ends 1-1, and it gets us into 9th place in the Eastern Conference table, which that just shows you again how forgiving this league is, and it's insane. It's like you can pretty much have a miserable 2 months where you lose 5 straight at home. You don't really win for 2 months. And now we're in a playoff, wild card spot. I guess they're calling it a wild card. But, basically, it's just insane. But, we do have a lot of way roads to have to make sure that this isn't a new head coach bump, which, with the performances so far defensively, I would say it's quite good in that sense, but attack-wise, we have to figure it out. But that may be an uphill battle.
I've heard people, talking about what this is a, interim coach bump or something like that. I've heard some people talk about how, it's just statistics. This can be explained through statistics alone. That, we've had, and I mean, to a degree, Pineda and others have kind of harped on this a bit in the past, that it's like that, Pineda says the goals will come. They should. The underlying numbers are there, right? So like, where are they? And sometimes in soccer, like, things just don't pan out. However, there is eventually, hopefully, regression to the mean. And in this case, that could be what you're seeing. A bit of, the goals just didn't, like, games where you should have scrounged out a result and you just got unlucky or something like that. That happens to every team. But for it to happen to you, like, consistently for like many games earlier, in the first half of the season, it then stands to reason that in the latter half of the season, you'll start to see things kind of go your way more, because things tend to balance out. When it comes to, you know, referee calls, when it comes to injuries, when it comes to all this other stuff, things tend to balance out. So, and like puck luck is a term they use in hockey, when, you know, like bouncing around the mixer of the box, and then a lot of times for us it just didn't go in. But now you're starting to see sometimes it does. I mean, what is the chance of getting a rebound off a PK? Not very high, and we got some luck there. So could be some evening out into the, you know, the statistics, but who knows?
Right. But to bank on it, that's the problem. You know, I would definitely want to be the team that creates more chances, and then, you know, okay, yeah, maybe you're not going to be super clinical, but at least finish one or two of them. And yeah, if you can keep a clean sheet, that's the recipe. That is the recipe. But yeah.
And
so
I'm just happy that we're also scrounging. We're finally scrounging points away, and, you know, and like we're not just capitulating every game and, you know, hemorrhaging points left and right anymore. You know, we, ever since, like, you know, you pointed out, ever since Rob took over, we haven't lost. That's not what we expected, especially in the more difficult stretch when all of our good, quote unquote, good players are on leave. You know, we expected the worst, and we somehow are, you know, like getting away with it somehow. I don't know how we turned it around, but here we are.
Right. And it's still nascent into the 2.0 era, but you know, results are going our way. Hopefully they continue. But yeah, so we'll wrap up this match review. Let's get into the news. Like aforementioned, we are ninth in the table. Inter Miami still at the top. FC Cincy, who just suffered a big injury blow, season-ending injury to Matt Miazga, the defender of the year last year in MLS. So, you know, will they persist with the three-man back line? That'll be interesting. But yeah, you know, them two still at the top. New York Red Bulls are in third. Charlotte somehow with Dean Smith, who I predicted earlier in the season on Goals TV. If you don't know, check that out. I do some predictions over there and debates. But yeah, Charlotte is, I would say, overperforming hard, but also because Dean Smith is just a quality coach. But yeah, and Columbus as well. They're in that fifth spot. So I would say Columbus underperforming a little bit their expectations. But yeah, so, you know, we're in that kind of you know, wild card playoff spot at the moment, right above Orlando City. Yeah, we have business to do. Yep, mind the gap, exactly. And yeah, to make sure that we continue to stay above this line. But yeah, Yorgos Giacomakis, he finally said his goodbyes to Atlanta in a Instagram post. He said, "I will keep nothing but love and great memories for this year and a half. Thank you for making me and my family feel at home. Even though we were on the other side of the world, from the first to the last moment, we were there. Thanks, Atlanta. Thank you, 17s. Red heart emoji, black heart emoji, your GG, Greek flag, and number 7. So a lot of people were saying too little too late. A lot of people are also thanking him for his time. I mean, he did score a good bit of goals. I think, if I remember correctly, something like 27 goal involvements in, you know, 30-something odd games. So, you know, pretty good, you know, kind of goal return for the striker. But ultimately, it was a little bit marred by sort of injuries, sort of yellow card accumulation, and, you know, pretty much not really playing the last 2 months.
Break, you know, the list goes on.
Yep, indeed. So, you know, a player that definitely came in with bravado, came in with the right attitude, usually said the right things, maybe took too long to you know, thank the fans, but you know, I think as far as the press conference for him at Cruz Azul, it may have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way there. possibly bashing MLS, possibly bashing LA United. Unclear who he was actually talking about specifically, maybe. But he was definitely talking about the league and how it was okay to lose some games, which, yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. I feel that. I feel that he's, he's right about kind of the the away punts of matches, the weekday punts of games. It's just, if we actually prioritized it, league-wise anyway, we wouldn't be playing in these international windows where, yes, the Euros and Copa America, like, these are massive tournaments for everyone in those regions, and us playing that when we're in that tournament in Copa America as the U.S. men's national team, like, it just screams out unserious. But alas, here we are. But do you have thoughts on all of the above?
Yeah, I do. I don't hold any animosity towards GG right now. I realize he's a bit of a showman, and he knows how, and this is kind of, I felt this in the beginning, like, he knows how to win over a fan base, and he knows how to say, those whisper those sweet nothings in your ear that a fan wants to hear. But, at the end of the day, he's going to be like, well, I'm going to go somewhere else if it just makes sense to do so. And he did. And he, lo and behold, basically tries to do the same thing at Cruz Azul. Ingratiate himself with the fan base by starting off with telling them things that they love to hear. Their big continental rivals up north are not as good as them. So, of course, that's what they want to hear, and they're happy to hear that. Make some good fire and smoke for Leagues Cup. That'll be interesting. So that's my thought on that. And, he's a bit of, like...
I want to add, you are a poet, my friend, because you're like, whisper sweet nothings in your ear, and, oh, crap, now I just forgot what you said.
That's what the fans want to hear. Yeah.
That's what the fans want to hear, yeah. Oh, my God. Wordsmith here.
Yeah, so...
Anyway,
he says these things, and he ingratiates himself to the fan base. We knew that when he came here because he poo-pooed the Scottish Premier League. He said it was not competitive. And I'm sure that the fans over there don't probably like to hear that, as in then indicating that MLS is more competitive, which it technically is. Mm-hmm. And the things that Yorgos said about MLS aren't technically wrong. So it's not like he's saying, untruths when he goes to a new league or something, but it does seem pointed, and it does seem, that there's some venom on those words directed at the leagues. But I don't really think that they're made in any kind of like serious, like, this is his the axe he needs to grind for this, right? Like, he feels really slighted or whatever. No, I think he just finds a thing to say that the fans will want to hear when he gets there. To the new team. That's just what he does. So,
yeah, I agree. I don't really hold any ill will towards Giakoumakis and his time here, nor those comments. I mean, it's just basically, it's like, I'm calm.
And I just sorry to cut you off, but I need to say that, like, if it worked out with us and he stuck around, I mean, like, a lot of people are miffed by the fact that, he said things about how, like, he loves Atlanta and wants to be here for a long time, and, all this, et cetera, et cetera. And then people were like, okay, now prove it. And then he goes and leaves, and everyone's like, that was all, you were full of crap then, basically. It's like, well, thing is, things were working out well. I'm sure he would have stayed. And all of a sudden, those words, those things he said, you'll, learn my name and all that kind of stuff, would have been epic and legendary, which, I mean, they are to a degree, but they're, a little less now because of all that. And so, it's like,
I mean, ultimately,
went differently, could have been, no one would have even thought about it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and absolutely right. And ultimately, he got a pay raise. He got a contract extension, pretty much, for 4 years. And I think, from a business standpoint of just anybody, like, if you got an offer from another company, and arguably, I mean, let's just be real. Like, Cruz Azul is a very fervent fan base, very large, and you got a pay raise and a contract extension. You set up your family for 4 more years with the biggest contract of your life. Yeah, you would take it too. So, I mean, loyalty in the game is incredibly difficult. Especially, he's not a player that grew up with the team. This isn't his boyhood club. Like, the only player that could maybe even say that, possibly. Well, okay, we've got a few now, but Caleb Wiley, Morales, Cobb, like, these guys did grow up watching this club, and they're not that old. Like, it really could. It's their boyhood club. But beyond those players, beyond the homegrowns, there's not really, like, these DPs are essentially mercenaries. And yes, it's a good time for them, but for them to be like, just die hard, red, black, and gold, it's very difficult to say that.
I think this tells us something as Atlanta United fans that perhaps we didn't know. I'm saying as the collective us, is that perhaps if things don't go well for DPs when they come in, they will leave. Like, they won't necessarily be like Joseph, who was like, I'm just gonna stay here for as long as I can, basically. Because
the club doesn't want me anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like he had success, so then he just wants to regain that success. Like, and if Joseph was here and he didn't do well, and like we had a not great start to the league for the first couple years, probably would have moved on.
Yep, exactly. And it's just what it is. It's like these players do get lambasted on the internet when they're not doing well. It's kind of a two-way street in that sense. So yes,
and it's not like the NFL or NBA or something like that where you have franchise players all the time. So like, it's not common for guys to stick around for 5+ years, but we were, like I said, very lucky and privileged with Joseph.
Yes, indeed. And to a degree, Brad Guzan, who is I think model steward of the club. Whether he's always been performing or not, that's a different thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's move on from that. Atl United, they also signed Matt Edwards, the defender, to a homegrown deal effective immediately. As a right back, can cover in some positions as well. And there still is the rumor, of course, of Amador, who might be coming as well. So we'll see. We'll see if we'll get some more defensive cover, especially when the Olympics are coming up very, very soon. But speaking of rumors, according to Kieran Kelly, forward Callum Wilson, the British striker, he will leave Newcastle this summer. And Atl United and Charlotte FC are among a number of clubs showing interest. Obviously, there are discovery rights involved here, so both teams can't really truly be interested. One of them has the rights to this striker if it were the case. But he's 32 years old. He had 9 goals in 20 games in the Premier League last season. He did lose his spot a little bit to not only injury, but Alexander Isak, who usurped him. Definitely, younger and definitely just as far as talent is just crazy talented. So Callum Wilson, that's no slight to him. Wilson is a very good striker. Unfortunately, he also is as injury prone as Giacomakis with hamstring injury, soft tissue injuries. It's not a glowing record, but his scoring record, really good, especially in the best league in the world. Well, let's just be real. It's kind of crazy. If he signed maybe a 2-year deal with us, okay, I'd be okay with that. But I have a feeling it wouldn't be that. He would want a little bit more security than that, and in that sense, that's the rub. Like, is that a good move for Atl United? What do you think?
If he signed a 2-year, I mean, like that would that would turn some heads in Atlanta, in the MLS. Like, okay, Atlanta's got a tried, proven, true striker that is extremely dangerous. That would probably make a lot of defenses in MLS very afraid of us. I think that would be a good thing overall, provided he stays healthy. That's a big if.
Right.
And then, obviously, like, we're looking at least right now, I mean, 2 years, that can be rough because we're talking about, we don't have a coach. We don't know the direction the club wants to go in terms of what kind of identity and team we want to make this, into. So it might be weird to bring in a guy who's only here for 2 years while a coach is trying to invent, an identity or what have you that they come up with. So it might not work out perfectly. So I think it would just be better if we had a plan in mind, a coach in mind, a way of playing in mind, where we're all trying to now put it together with the players and the coach and the style. Instead of just going, well, here's a stopgap for now. Here's a short-term solution for now. I want to be able to see a roadmap of sorts. That would be great. If Atlanta United's like, here's where we are, and here's where we want to be by, 2027, and here's how we're going to get there over the next several years. That would be wonderful to see, but I will hold my breath that they will come out with something like that.
Well, that's the thing. It's, if they announce that they're extremely hamstringing themselves, no pun intended, with pretty much their transfers, because, if it doesn't fit the MO, well then, the people that are being, I guess, targeted or all that, they'll be like, well, you guys said this, and then, why are you coming after me? Like, that they would have to be convinced pretty hard. But what if Atlanta decided they want to go after these type of players? What would your reaction be to?
I would be like, let's give it a shot, and if it doesn't work out, then we can say at least we ran that experiment, because we've not done that before. Mm-hmm. We've not brought in a superstar from Europe or somewhere else that is a tried and true, proven killer. Like, we've never done that before. Mm-hmm. We've only, have taken some chances on guys who've, rode the bench, and they ended up being really, really good in a lot of cases. So, and then obviously in other cases, not so great. So it's been hit or miss. Whether or not I think we can continue to do that, I don't know. I think, and it seems like the league is kind of on the page of, you should probably invest in the superstars because they will bring you at least levels of competitiveness with them. You'll at least be in the conversation for top 4 again if you stack your team with, Olivier Giroud and, Lionel Messi and all these crazies, right? So I feel like that is one way of doing it. I don't know if, that does not guarantee you, silverware by doing that at all, I don't think. I don't know what does in this league right now. So if you know that, obviously you're going to make a lot of money. So that's right. That's what I would say about that.
Right, and I think we've regressed back to an MLS 2.0 kind of David Beckham era, which ironically, obviously, with Messi playing at Inter Miami, owned partially by David Beckham. So, it probably was always gonna be a little bit like that, and with the guy who pretty much started the DP, the Beckham rule, essentially. But yeah, so as far as Wilson, like I said, a 2-year kind of stopgap, score a bunch of goals, maybe have some other strikers in the wing that he can kind of mentor, take under his wing. I think that's a decent thing if it does happen, but we will see. We'll see what comes into fruition with that. But the big rumor of the week, and boy, is this a saga. And there's some twists and turns, and is it done? Possibly. But Fabrizio Romano, he first Cesar Luis Merlo first reported that Thiago Almada was speaking with Eagle Football Group And yeah, they are a side or an ownership group that owns pieces or portions of not only Brazilian side Botafogo, but also Olympique Lyon and also Crystal Palace, France and in England, respectively. And basically Fabrizio Romano also corroborated that and said that they were closing in on the deal for around 20 million. And it could be where Almada moves to Botafogo and then to Olympique Lyon as part of the plan. But yeah, all the while in America, the reports were refuted, saying that, basically Garth Lagerwey, the president, is basically on 92.9 saying, I haven't spoke with Eagle Football Group in months, since January. And then German Garcia Grova, he mentions that LA United have reached a full agreement with the football group, and that the 20 million is the cost or roundabouts. The contract is for 5 years, and then he will most likely play for Botafogo and then Lyon. Well, okay, even more twisted turns. John Texter, the guy who is part of that ownership group, the main guy, he was speaking kind of in a YouTube video, kind of more like selfie style, and he was personally denying the Cesar Luis Merlo story, saying that the offer was going to be sent that morning. And Garth Lagerwey, he also mentioned that on 92.9 that afternoon, there's nothing approaching to any kind of deal. We'll break this down in a second of kind of what everybody is probably meaning. But Cesar Luis Merlo this morning mentioned that Thiago Almada, it's confirmed he will play for Botafogo first. They have purchased him for 20 million or roundabouts, 5-year contract. Will be in Brazil until December and then go to Lyon. Meanwhile, Doug Roberson of the AJC has been adamantly saying that no deal is yet in place to sell Almada. And all the while, there is a possibility that signing for Botafogo means that they may prevent him from going to the Olympics. So all of that is incredibly, it's long, it's arduous, it's what Atlanta United is in the transfer market. I mean, if you haven't paid attention in any of the transfer windows, just how it goes, especially with our biggest name players and DPs, whether they're being brought in or sold. This is just how it is. But as far as, I think there is a bit of paper talk with Garth Lagerwey saying that there isn't a deal yet. Nothing is approaching the deal yet. It's a bargaining position. You have to have that. You're not going to say it's a done deal because it's not, to a degree. But, as far as any sort of Cesar Luis Merlo, Fabrizio Romano, these are as well-informed, well-connected guys that are reputable in the business as far as transfers go. And, where there's smoke, this is fire. It's just a matter of when is it going to happen and for how much. But, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, I think there's a universe where everyone is pretty much right. That, people are saying, oh, this contradicts that, but I don't really think it does. The way I see it and the way I understand contract negotiations is that there are various stages to them. And certain parts can be agreed to first before other parts. And so what someone says, let's say, one group talks to another group, gives them an offer, then they go, okay, we're willing to be okay with, let's say, the 20 million number, but we're not okay with some of the riders that are on the contract towards the end, sign-ons or percentages and other things like that, and whether or not he goes to the Olympics, all these things. So like, maybe that one of the agents, they basically hear, okay, Atlanta's basically said cool with the 20, okay, and then they go run with that essentially, and they talk to the media and press, or it leaks out, and then all of a sudden it comes to, oh, the deal is basically done. It's like, well, Atlanta sounds like they're probably going to say yes, they just have things to negotiate and work out. They're coming from a position of, yeah, we're generally going to go along with this, but there are just some things we have to do here. And then the other side is probably like, we're cool with that too. We're all working within a frame that we're good to work in. There's nothing like outside of it that's going to torpedo the deal entirely. That's probably what they heard, and then they went and ran with it, because that's basically, them being correct. Like the deal is probably going to happen fairly similar to what was rumored. And that's why people like Fabrizio, people like Caesar, all these people are able to say things with confidence, because it's generally that's the case here. At least that's what it seems like. So I don't think really anyone is wrong. I think that people are reporting what is true. And I've said this about the Giakoumakis deal. We know Garth kind of operates this way, is that the deal might be 99% done, or, they're on different stages of it and they're working their way up. And, Garth is asked, well, is the deal done? Like, like, is it going to happen? And then Garth goes, I don't know what you're talking about. It's not done. And it's just like, well,
yeah, he basically would say, yeah, it's like, I would know if it's done, of all people. But that's the thing, like, not sorry to cut you off, but I feel like, this is where it is. It's like, these are negotiations. It's never cut and dry with negotiations, especially I think people have this like FIFA EAFC thing of like, oh yeah, you just got to offer, and then it's a yes or no. And no, there's a lot of stipulations in contracts. There's a lot of things that player needs to work out. This is the thing, they were Garth Lager would say, yeah, I haven't spoken with Eagle Football Group. Well, that's the thing. They were speaking with the player,
right?
Which there's no tampering in football. It's basically you speak with agents, you speak with those type of people all the time. And with Fabrizio Romano, with Cesar Luis Merlo, they're fed a lot of information from agents, and as well, they'll call the agents and basically ask, hey, where are we at with this this transfer? How far is it along? And I think that's where maybe journalists can improve their questions in saying, hey, where are you guys at with this Thiago Almada transfer? And if they don't want to answer, then we know that there are some negotiations. It's the non-answer a lot of times does tell you a lot. And it's the asking, oh, is it done? Yeah, it's a black and white answer. That's it's easy. It's just lazy as a question, really. And honestly, like, that's where I feel like I have bones to pick with people that are asking these questions. Like, ask better questions. Because there are these things that, it's a process. It's not like, and if this deal doesn't get done, it doesn't mean it was completely false. Oh, Merlo, Romano, they're all liars. It's like, no, like, like things happen in negotiations on any sort of contract talk, from you like buying your house. You have DD. You have due diligence that you have to do. It's the same type of thing that, is it going to be straightforward that, oh, I want this house, and you talk to the original owner, and it's like, okay, well, you don't agree on some things. Well, then, are you going to say, well, I never wanted that house? Like, it's just like, it's silly. It's silly to say. But there's a lot of people that think it's just completely black and white. And it's hilarious, actually. But yeah, I think the better question now is, okay, is this a good move for LA United?
I mean, yeah, it is, definitely. Because, A, you're still having the perception of being a club that can get young South American talent to Europe, like relatively straightforward. I mean, you know, don't get us wrong. You know, this management group, this is a pretty straight shot pipeline. Like, this is kind of a like money laundering type of scenario, like not like in a literal sense, not in a legal sense, but I'm saying like
no accusations thrown from this side.
It's just, you know what I mean? It's like various forms of accounting. You know, you put money in different pots, different teams. Like, it's like, oh, we don't want to bring this guy into this team right now, so let's put him into our B team or something like that. And then when we're ready, we can bring him on. We move things around, right? Like, that's the kind of situation that's going on. Not so much like, you know, it's not like Botafogo's like, we need this guy, he's our guy, he's gonna be our franchise player, and then Leon's like, actually, we're gonna grab him up from you now because we're under the same umbrella. No, there's a strategy being done here from the top down. So and that's what a lot of these ownership groups do. So, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, as for Thiago, clearly he wants to go to Europe, so this is a win for him. I don't think he's going to mind with a stopover in Brazil. I mean, he's just going to add to his resume, and then he's going to also, you know, he's going to go right over to Europe basically after that in December. I don't think that's a big deal for him. He's young. He's just a vacation over in Brazil for a little while. And then for the club, for us, we're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's around 16.5 that we got him for originally, making 20. I mean, it's not what we were being offered in the off season, but you know, it is what it is. It's like at this point, he's a player that you know, we have to move on almost. Like, it's like him on the club
in to be moved on. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Like last season, it was already like, oh, he's still here. Like, wow. And then you also have the other aspect where it's like, okay, we're not really doing that well with him. So let's just find someone that wants to be here and also can perform, and you know, get us back to the levels that we need to be. So yeah, take the money, use it, and but I feel like it's also this, you know. I think we'll maybe answer this a little bit in the mailbag, but it is to a degree that I think we have to make these moves to bring in new players, because the team has season tickets to sell, and essentially, if you have, and there's a lot of people, a lot of fans already, that's because these players are being sold, they're like, I'm out. Like, there's just why do I return to this? Because, you know, I'm just not ready for this pain over and over and over again. But, you know, once that new player comes in, you know, that new player sheen, and if we start doing well, you know, it's exactly what happened last year. It's, you know, the people that were like, oh, I'm on the fence. Okay, all right, you know, we're doing pretty well. Okay, I'll re-up, because this is the lifeblood of the team. So yeah, in my opinion, they have to make these DP moves. They have to at least bring one in, and with the coach, I mean, it's, I think pretty quickly, I think a decision needs to be made, probably as well, if especially if we're not getting results. But anyway, moving on from that, Sabalabsanitse, he and Georgia have advanced to the knockout rounds, and essentially, man, they in their first Euros, they beat Ronaldo and Portugal 2-0 to advance. And yeah, scenes, basically. Saba, he is ecstatic. It's a party. But unfortunately, it does mean that Saba is going to be away from the team for just a little bit longer. But yeah, definitely big congrats to him. Slisz, unfortunately, with Poland, unfortunately, no such luck. Unfortunately, they have crashed out, and Slisz is probably available for the weekend. But yeah, I mean, you know, thoughts on Saba?
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's not every day you can say you went toe-to-toe with Cristiano Ronaldo and was able to beat him. So good for Good for Saba, and good for the country of Georgia.
Indeed. I mean, it is also like to another degree here that he beat Messi and Ronaldo in 1 month.
Yeah, good for him. He's taking scalps, racking up kill counts. It's impressive.
It's insane.
He's going trophy hunting.
Right. I mean, he did have a big miss, unfortunately. I mean, he's not a massive part of the Georgian national team. He is, part of the squad, obviously, but still, take those scalps. But, yeah. So, last bit of news: LA Knight 2. They returned to the pitch on Wednesday night against Orlando City B. They're playing about right now while we're recording this. So, unfortunately, no. No, okay. Unfortunately, yes. So it was a 2-2 draw ultimately, but they did get beat on penalties 5-3. So, but yeah. And yeah, they will be playing after that very soon. And so that gets us into the mailbag, and you guys send in these questions through IG Story and Discord. Please continue to do so, and we might answer your question in the future. And there are a lot of good ones this week. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to all of them. Yeah, there were a lot. And, but as far as maybe the first question here, let's go with. Ooh, hello, Mike. Attacking me, not you, Mike, but the microphone, Mike.
Awesome.
Okay, so first question comes from Josh Kite. So, do we replace DPs without a coach in place first? We kind of answered this a little bit, but maybe just kind of sum up our thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's risky. I mean, I don't know what. So, like, you kind of have to have. I mean, it's the chicken or the egg. Do you let the coach come and invent an identity for your team, which Garth kind of hinted that might be the case? Or does the team and the coach and the front office, not the coach, the front office and the team think they have an identity established already? Which I would kind of question that. I don't really know if we do. So I'm leaning towards what Garth said. Let the coach kind of take that helm and see where we go. And if that's the case, then I feel like you have to hold off on those signings. But how do you do that without punting the rest of the season?
Right. And especially as well, like I aforementioned earlier in the episode, there are season tickets that they need to sell. And, with a lot of people out, with, GG being sold, with Almada potentially being sold, that feeling is not roses right now. You have to kind of spearhead that good feeling and good vibes back into the fanosphere, for lack of a better word. And so, I think it's a conundrum. It's a real conundrum. I would say at least one DP bring in that can excite the fan base and really make sure that it's a player that can play in a lot of different types of systems. And so he's got to be really good. He's got to be really, really good. Next question comes from LA United VIPs. Who's going to cook at the South American barbecue after Almada leaves? I think obviously, it's Almada wasn't a big part of that, but I would say the French contingent has been taking care of that with Sean De Silva and Tristan Muyamba. So, La Banda, maybe not La Banda, maybe more like La Bande. So, something that we haven't really, been pushing that much. I think, the French contingent is a little bit stronger now. I mean, Jamal Tiare maybe speaks a little bit too. Hey, but yeah. So next question comes from, let's see, it was Harry the Dog. Yes. So Almada will be sold soon. How does he rank among all-time ATL players? A really good question.
That's
super
a really tough
to answer.
one. We might have to do a whole separate video on this, but like I wanna put it's, you have to look at it in like multiple ways. It's hard to just, you know, it's like, oh, how do you pick your favorite movie when it's like I have favorite movies in different genres, right? It's hard to compare them. So in this case, if you want to look at like Almada's not won trophies with us, does that take away from his physical ability? Of course not. So, but if you only measure physical ability, then yeah, he's, you know, up there with Miguel Almiron in terms of like technical and, you know, in terms of like what he can do on the ball and what he can do to defenses. He's elite, right? He would immediately be in the like, tier 1, right, of our list. However, I want to look at him more holistically, and it you know, his contributions are excellent, but there are some times where he kind of turns invisible. Now you could say, well, it's a bit of the team that he's on that's not doing so well, and it's hard for him to play in that kind of environment and just take the team on his back. And like very few players can do that, even if they're like world class. When you have just such a, I don't know, a team that was struggling as we were. So if you want to look at it like that more holistically, I think you would say, and like the era he was in kind of colors it and puts it a little bit lower in terms of like a tier below the elite players. Because when you look at the elite players we have on the like tier 1, which is like Almiron and Joseph, maybe Nagby, like these guys are not just players who could do very well almost everywhere. They also won stuff. And unfortunately, Thiago hasn't won stuff. So if technical ability alone, you'd put that in there. If not, then I'd say like tier below.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great answer. I mean, it's, you know, obviously, I would say not to maybe kind of go too hard into this, but Joseph, Miggy are the, you know, the top 2. That's for sure. Nagby is definitely in that conversation. You know, as far as like talent and also, you know, I think place in the league, as well as, you know, trophies. But you know, do you count defensive players in there as well? Do you, you know, it's difficult, you know, and but I think talent alone as well. Yeah, you know, Almada is absolutely up there. Probably in the top 5 in terms of, you know, this whole combination. I would say he's around number 4 or number 5 at the moment in terms of all-time, I think, from a talent standpoint and also, you know, kind of his contribution to the team, I think, from a level of that. But
talking about defenders, you have Miles Robinson was like best defender, best like starting 11, MLS All-Star kind of guy. Won championship, like, you know, that he's up there as well. So like,
it's, yeah, there's a bit of that. I mean, as well though, I mean, I think his importance to the team, LGP is up there as well. Maybe not, you know, talent level higher than any of these guys, but I mean, you know, won a lot of trophies, and then also, you know, just the stalwart in the back for us, and absolutely, you know, a big piece into why we won all those trophies. And I mean, yeah, you know, I think that's a good spot for him at the moment. But you know, we might go in depth in a longer video on this, and that answer might change. But yeah, next question that comes from greatest Josh Cohen fan: should we look for another young Almada replacement, or get an experienced player from South America or Europe?
I think I'd prefer, I guess we haven't really gone into what we prefer, what we'd hope to see, not what the team will likely do. I would like to see proven, tried and true killers come in. I want to, like, Gigi was proven, and I was excited to see him play. It just was unfortunate he was injury prone, but we knew he could score, and he did, and he had a swagger about him. If we can get guys like that in, I'm gonna be at least thinking we're competitive again. We can strike fear into other teams again. And I'm really hoping we see that soon. Because trial and error with guys that maybe, you know, are gold, but they, you know, there's some time that they need to take to get to being pure gold. Like, the thing is, what should be on the front office's mind right now is we need to start making waves. We need to start, you know, competing again, because we need to bring everyone back. And then once we can kind of like, secure a beachhead in like the top 4, then we can kind of refine the team and get it to like exactly where we want it to be. But until we get there again, it's like, why experiment now? Just do something that will at least claw us back up to a respectable position. It may not be the recipe for winning, and that may come later, the whole thing, but at least we're competitive again. And I think you get there with experienced hires.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that we've tried the South American Wonder Kids, the players that are learning their craft, with the U22 players that we brought in as well. It's just not something that has brought the most fruitful kind of returns that we need as a fan base. Like, we want, we're that type of fan base that wants the kind of immediate returns, the players that can come in and start producing from the off. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen with players that are adjusting not only to the league but also to life. It's a bit difficult for those players to really I think get a foothold. I think that's what.
Did the South America stuff work? Yes, of course. But it's kind of like catching lightning in a bottle. I think you just have a more likelihood of getting consistent, high quality output that makes us competitive from going with tried and true, proven commodities versus experimental and developmental type of projects.
Right. And especially, I mean, if you're going to go with, players from 4 to 11 in the starting 11 with those type of players, okay. But 1 through 3 in terms of the DPs, that's where I see, like, okay, yeah, we don't have the wherewithal as a fan base to accept that. And, to allow that to happen. Like, another Barco, it ain't going to happen. Like, that's... The fan base doesn't have patience for that.
And, like, another Luis Araujo either. I don't know how that happened. Look at the guy's performance before he gets here in terms of goal contributions, and it's got to be a big freaking number. And he's got to be the guy who was directly contributing these things, not like on the side. He was ancillary. He needs to be the guy. We need guys who are the guy instead of it, because like a lot of years past, we've had multiple guys on our team who were very like, I am Atlanta United, right? It's not just like one guy, but we have been just one guy for a while now, and I want to see more. Like, we saw it a little bit with like Dax McCarty. Yeah, he's not like a world beater or anything, but like at least with personality alone, the guy knows how to talk to media and how to get you feeling like he understands what's going on and he can help fix things. So hopefully, like, a combination of the right personality and just a tried, proven commodity that can absolutely score and contribute. Instead of, like I said, again, it's like Luis Araujo is good, but you look at his statistics and you're going to see he's not exactly like a prolific scorer or creator. He's good and he does all right, but if he's not given the right tools and the right personnel around him, he's going to flounder like he did here. So you got to be able to figure that out and get a guy he's not dependent. He can just be who he is and dominate by himself if need be. That's the kind of guy we need right now.
Yeah. And these things aren't always 100%, but, obviously the track record does matter. And Luis Araujo never really had a goal return that was very high. A hard worker, but, not a player that...
Marcin Orlano, too. He's good, but just not the guy.
Right. And not players that we would say are very clinical. And so, is what that is. But, last question comes from Daniel ATL _7. Do y'all think that Schleich will improve Atlanta with how they've currently been playing?
I mean, I think he already has. Without him, I think we would be, like, dreadful. But, like, even more dreadful, believe it or not. But, I mean, he's still getting used to the team a bit. It's interesting seeing Dax, like seeing the midfield pairings try and work out their chemistry. Like Dax and Mailbag have done a really good job. Like Fortune has done a really good job. And then, unfortunately, when Schleich was here playing for us, it was kind of in our bad times, right? I mean, and so I'd be interested to see if like he can also benefit from this new, you know, interim manager bump that we're currently going through. Maybe he will also feel the, you know, the vibes have improved of some sort. So,
Right.
but you know, it's. I think that he is definitely a key to us going forward, and I expect to see him doing, you know, God's work for us in his position, because God, we've needed it for a while.
Right, for sure. And that's what it really is. It's he was hardly the problem. I mean, he was, yes, a contributor to you know, kind of the woes that we had, but you know, you can't say that it was the entire team was you know, the culprit. Like that's harsh to say, because there are good players on bad teams, and you know, they put in good performances on bad teams. It happens all the time. That's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and just, yeah, it's not not something that I subscribe to. But anybody else, if they want to look at it that way, they can, sure. But Schleich, I think, you know, something that I do want to see more from him, and obviously that's going to come with more experience, is to impart a little bit more kind of like what McCarty does, which is being very vocal, getting players to be where they need to be in order for the team to be defensively sound, and also, you know, attack-wise, you know, not only just very stagnant, but like, yes, you know, dynamic, and you know, kind of spraying some balls, trying some things, making sure that we're trying to play forward, and you know, from that position, it's very important. So, but yeah. So that was the mailbag, and it gets us into the match preview. And 7:30 on Saturday against Toronto FC at the Benz. Yes, Toronto FC, they are in 8th, of course, right above us. They have lost 3 straight games, just by the way. And yeah, their last match, they lost against New York Red Bulls 3-0. They, of course, unfortunately, beat us at Toronto, or in Toronto, and you know, that is annoying, obviously. But yeah, the last 6 as well, we've won 1, drawn 3, and they've won 2. So it's I wouldn't say we're in glistening form against them, and we play Toronto a decent bit throughout the years, but you know, they were, of course, wooden spoon last year. They have a ton of chemistry issues with you know, their players. You know, not only with their DPs, but I mean, it's just, yeah, Bernardeschi, Insigne, just 2 players that's very, very talented, but you know, just kind of an enigma. But of course, we also moved over Derrick Etienne to them, and he's been doing pretty okay for them as well. So you know, it's hopefully we do not see Etienne do well against us, but you know, that seems to kind of be the case sometimes when we sell players on. Joseph Martinez, looking at you. Lots of other players as well.
Franco Escobar.
Yeah, Franco Escobar, exactly. It's just, yeah, the players that come back and haunt us, it happens a lot. But you know, it's the extra motivation, and
Arlington Nagby constantly does it.
Yep. But yeah, so predictions for them this season, you know, they're overperforming that, at least, because they were predicted to be by the pundits as low as 15th, which is another wooden spoon essentially, or as high as 9th. So okay, you know, that's they're absolutely overperforming at the moment, and you know, we'll see if they can continue that form. I think they're a little bit of fool's gold, but you know, it is what it is. But you know, they are a team that I would say, you know, attack pretty heavily on the wings. They rely on that individual skill of their very talented players to score, but you know, they're not a team that is particularly dangerous in the opposition halves. They are a club that or a squad that does play a little bit more kind of that kind of possession that's is a little listless. So we do have that to contend with, which is interesting. We've kind of been eschewing possession a little bit more than we normally are, especially St. Louis, especially pretty much the Rob Valentino era. But this one will be interesting because as far as match facts, Toronto, they've conceded at least 2 goals in their last 4 matches. They also have there have been over 2.5 goals in 6 of Toronto FC's last 7 games. And also, they've conceded at least 2 goals as well. I already said that. But basically, yeah, there's going to be goals, I feel like. It's just a matter of, can Atl United score them? And that's the great question. But as far as available players, or unavailable players, rather, Luis Abram, still out at Copa America. Saba, of course, advancing with Georgia. So he will continue in the Euros. Edwin Mosquera out with his knee. Daniel Rios kind of questionable. Who knows the severity of his injury as of yet. And then Tyler Wolff probably a little bit questionable. We'll see if he's fully back and into the squad. But that gets us into the predicted starting 11, and maybe even before that, kind of Michael, what you're thinking Atl United should do in order to get all 3 points in this match.
I mean, like, I want to issue possession because it seems to be working for us. Like seeing what the other team can do and try and break them down in transition moments is a very powerful spell in MLS. And so using it has seemed to has been beneficial for us already. I mean just because we don't do a lot of possession, and so when we try and do that, and then it opens us up when we try and do it as well. So like the team that is really looking forward to counterattacking and in transition moments is going to, lick their lips against Atlanta United. And if we don't do that, they have to change their strategy a bit, and force us to come out to play a little more, which could expose them. I think that is the way we can score against almost every team in this league. I don't know how we did what we did against Miami, like where we kind of just dominated everything. So I don't think that's repeatable. So, and I'm not saying Toronto's like amazing in that they're gonna just kind of pin us back. I think that we just kind of need to let them think that they can win, and then don't.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely I think the strategy prevailing anyway so far is that we just need to be more incisive through the middle. Really be direct when the occasion calls for it, and we have to be clinical in front of goal. And obviously, like I mentioned before in this episode, that has been our Achilles this season. We just keep underperforming in front of the goal, and hopefully with the, I mean, it's I think going through the 11, I think it's gonna just be like, okay, where are the goals gonna come from? We'll see, but basically, Brad Guzan for me. Obviously, Josh Cohen started for Atl United 2, so that was Wednesday. It's gonna be Guzan, I think, in between the sticks. Hasn't lost that spot, so yep. You think?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why probably Cohen is starting with the 2s. But with the back line, I think it's going to persist with the 3-man back line. But instead of Cobb, or maybe not instead of Cobb, instead of Morales, I think it's going to be Stian Gregerson, Williams, and then Cobb. But do you think it's going to be that or different?
Yeah, and I think that's a solid back line, a really, really good back line. All three of them, and Morales too, all four of them have not really, except for Stien's entry last game, put a foot wrong really this season. And I'm really happy to see that. See these guys continuously play together and gel more. It's going to be a really, really good defense going forward.
Yeah. I mean, Cobb being manhandled by, Benteke alone, that's a different story. But
yeah, that
otherwise,
was not his fault.
Yeah, exactly. But so wingbacks, Lennon Wiley, that's about as kind of automatic as it gets there. Into midfield, do you see Schleich starting? A lot of S's there.
Yeah, I hope so. Because I know Dax would love some rest, right? So I think.
But he got a week rest here, so.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think we would put Schleich in, and then Dax will kind of cover the rest towards the end of the game, which is by design what they should be doing with these players, right? Schleich is there to really just dominate the game, and then McCarty puts it to bed.
I think in most games it would be like that. I'm not sure his first week back. I think there's gonna be a little bit of a hangover. I think it's more McCarty starts, and then Schleich gets a cameo to kind of get his bearings back, and then Muyumba pairs with him in midfield. But this is tough because Fortune had a pretty good game here.
Yeah, he did.
But from a attack standpoint, we need attackers too. So it's difficult. But I would say Fortune doesn't get the call in this one, and Almada and Silva are the midfield attacking duo. But what do you think?
Yeah.
And then up top, it's if it's Rios, if he's if he's healthy, but if he's not, Jamal Tiari, and that's pretty much the given there.
And I mean, I was making fun of Atlanta United for signing 3 strikers when we clearly had issues in other parts of the team that we should probably address. And lo and behold, it seems like it was smart to get 3 strikers with how many that were just kind of, selling and or are injured. So, redundancy in this case seemed to have been prudent.
Yeah, especially with the number of competitions and the injury record. It's, and I mean these 3 players that we've had at the striker position. Man, like it is whatever it is. They just get injured, and hopefully that can stop because it's very annoying. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below what that starting 11 looks like for you. But it gets us to the score prediction. What do you got, Michael?
I have 1-1. I think Toronto's just going to get a lucky goal, either like through a wonder shot from Insigne or something like that. I just think they might just get lucky, it's not on the defense, this goal, in my opinion. I think our defense is going to be solid, and we're just going to be frustrated that they let one in, and it was really nothing they could do about it. I think that'll probably happen. And then I don't know who's going to score for us, if it's Almada, and probably your best bet. But it'll be tricky. It'll be hard. They're going to man-mark the heck out of him. They're not going to give him any space. So it'll be very difficult. I don't see the goals really coming from somewhere else. I didn't see a penalty happening last game. I don't see it happening again, but it's possible. They let in so many goals. It's tempting to say 2-1 us. That's a very plausible result, but I just feel like we're going to struggle to find the back of the net.
I agree with you. But just their defensive record, and Toronto is just hemorrhaging goals at the moment. I think they can be got, especially at home here, where we need to turn it around with a win, I think we can do it. And I think it's a 2-1 win. Will it be ugly? I think so. Will it, not really be a masterclass by any means in any sense of the word? Probably. But, will we be able to get some goals? I think so. So, 2-1.
Hey, this could be a good chance for Stian to get his first goal off of a set piece, because we're like, where are the goals coming from? Perhaps a golazo from Thiago, or for a little moment of magic from him. That is always a possibility, and that's where I see at least some way of him scoring or allowing a goal to happen. But the other way could be Stian. We don't really fully know how good he is on set pieces when it lands right on him and where he can place it. So hopefully we can see that he knows exactly where to put it.
Yeah, and hopefully so. Hopefully we can get that service into the box. But and we say this, and then Stan Gregerson's gonna score a blast from outside, just a screamer.
I'll take it.
Yeah, if it happens, you heard it here first. But guys, that is pretty much the episode, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, will we miss Thiago Almada on the pitch? It's kind of a crazy question, but the way things have gone this season, is it that crazy? Let us know in the comments below. So, that's it for us today, guys. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. For Michael, I'm AJ. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.